This training on GASB Statement number 54 is presented by the Carl Vinson Institute of Government. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB, has issued Statement number 54, Fund Balance Reporting and Governmental Fund Type Definitions. This statement establishes financial reporting requirements for classifying and reporting fund balances in governmental funds. The objective is to improve financial reporting by providing fund balance categories and classifications that are more easily understandable. Fund balance is currently reported in governmental funds as either reserved or unreserved. The term reserve is used to identify the portion of fund balance that is segregated for some future purpose, like an encumbrance, or not available for expenditures to be appropriated in the following period, for example, reserved for advances to other funds. If a portion of the fund balance is reserved, the balance is reported as unreserved fund balance. Going forward, under the new pronouncement, fund balance will be reported in the following 5 categories: non-spendable, restricted, committed, assigned, or unassigned. Essentially, what was reserved fund balance will now be classified as either non-spendable, restricted, or committed. The non-spendable fund balance category represents amounts that cannot be spent for 2 specific reasons. 1, they are not in a spendable form, or 2, they are legally or contractually required to remain intact. Some examples include inventories, prepaid items, and the principal of a permanent fund that is legally required to be maintained intact. The restricted fund balance represents amounts that have a legally enforceable requirement. An example would be a debt covenant requirement or enabling legislation. Committed fund balances are not subject to legal enforceability. This category represents amounts for which the governing authority imposes a constraint on how funds may or may not be used. The constraint can only be removed or changed if the governing authority takes the same form of action it employed to previously impose the commitment. The final 2 classifications, assigned and unassigned fund balance, represent amounts that are intended by the government to be used for specific purposes. One example of assigned fund balance is to use an amount to upgrade a baseball field in the Parks and Recreation Department. The intent has been expressed by the governing authority, but no formal action has been taken. The fund balance is neither restricted nor committed. The unassigned classification of fund balance represents the remaining amount in the general fund. The unassigned fund balance has not been restricted, committed, or assigned to a specific purpose within the general fund. Not all governments will have all 5 components of fund balance. Governments should review their current policies and procedures to determine if resources would meet the definition of committed or assigned. Additional policies may be adopted or revised to be consistent with the new definitions. This concludes the training on GASB Statement number 54. A more in-depth discussion of fund balance is incorporated in the Vinson Institute's Part 2 Introductory Governmental Accounting course. You can also obtain more detailed information about Statement number 54 from the GASB website at www.gasb.org. The Carl Vinson Institute of Government appreciates your participation in this training.